Hello, good evening, and welcome to Prog Chattery 777. We are continuing our conversation on Primus, and we've made it to the year 2003 with Animals Should Not Try to Act Like People. Surely one of the greatest album titles of all time. Of course, we can't really call it an album because it is in fact an EP. It's just a tiny little collection of 5 songs, and it's kind of an oddball thing, really. Obviously worth mentioning, this is like the comeback thing. This is their reunion, the first reunion, anyway. So a little bit of backstory here. So basically, in 2000, the band split up. They went on hiatus. They were just overworked and they were really burnt out. The creative juices had dried up just a little bit. The previous album, Anti-Pop, could have been better, I think. It's not one of Primus's finest moments. But they did the right thing and they just kind of let it sit on the shelf for a little bit. Claypool immersed himself in a bunch of solo projects. He did Oysterhead with Stuart Copeland, and he also did the Fearless Flying Frog Brigade, which was a really, really cool project with lots of musicians. And and then 2003 they had the idea to reconvene with Tim Alexander on the drums. So you get the triumphant return of Tim Alexander, which is wonderful. And so 2003 comes along and they announced a tour. Excuse me. They announced a tour and they put together a DVD package which included all of their music videos. And as a kind of a companion piece to the DVD, we got this EP. And I confess I've actually never seen the DVD. I've seen the music videos. They're brilliant. I love the Primus music videos, but this is the real meat and potatoes of Animals Should Not Try to Act Like People, if you ask me. I like the new songs. I like the fresh material. That's where my interest lies. And as for the material on this album, it's really, really good. Like I said, having Tim Alexander back on board, it's almost like they just picked up where they left off. Of course, the previous album the last album to feature Tim Alexander was Tales from the Punch Bowl, which was the peak of their psychedelic, atmospheric, jammy kind of stuff. And yeah, like I said, it picks up right where that left off. The psychedelic factor is very present in the songs on this, and I think Claypool was really into jam bands at the time. And the songs have this great quality of a loose kind of a structure, but they all have the potential for expansion, and they can jam out and lend their improvisational voice to a lot of the tracks, which I think is really, really good, and it's very Primus. So that's all quite good. Referencing the title, I think it was Larry Lalonde's son or daughter, very just a young kid at the time, wrote down this little storybook or whatever, and then he wrote a little story, and it was called Animals Should Not Try to Act Like People. So his young one lent the title to the band, and it's quite good. We also got a classic plasticine album cover, which is quite fun. I quite enjoy the album cover, I must say. But let's talk about the tracks. Like I said, it's just an EP. There's only 5 songs on it, but I think they're all really good. So let's start dissecting them. Or I'll start dissecting them and putting meaningless drivel and words to what is a great album of songs, great EP of songs. The opening track is The Carpenter and the Dainty Bride, and I really, really dig this song. I love the creepy atmosphere at the very beginning. We just kind of get these, weird, creaky, repetitive sounds, and the band very slowly winds its way in, which is really, really great. We get that classic Tim Alexander polyrhythmic groove. He's holding down the bass, and there's all these little drums that he's using. All these little drums that he's using. He's one of those guys that's got a massive drum kit with a lot of stuff, but he's got a very good economy of use with his kit. He plays every piece that's on there, which is really good. And again, it's a great one of those classic Claypool seedy character songs. Great lines, great seedy lines, buried in his belly, my butcher knife, to the carpenter, said the dainty bride. Really, really good stuff. Great atmosphere, and it goes into a really, really good jam. Like I said, a lot of these songs are quite extended, and live they would be extended even more because they just have that potential, right? They're jammy songs. Carpenter and the Dainty Bride is excellent. Definitely a fan of that. Then we move into track 2, which is Pilcher's Squad. It's almost like a little vignette. It's only a minute 53, this song, and Yeah, it's a kind of rapid fire. It's very hyper and very upbeat and very very crazy, and it's almost like a continuation. Like lyrically, it's almost a continuation of Sergeant Baker. We get these crazy military characters, but it's got that classic Larry Lalonde counterpoint guitar part to Claypool's bass line, which is great. You know, typical dissonant and jangly and very strange. The jangliness is very apparent on the previous track too, Carpenter and the Dainty Bride. I love that. I'm mixing up my songs here right now. Sorry, I was talking about Pilcher Squad and I went back to Carpenter and the Dainty Bride, but they're all good, so that's all fine. But yeah, first two tracks are really good. Pilcher Squad is a fun little minute and 53 little vignette, and it's all quite good. That takes us to Marry the Ice Cube, which wraps up side one on the vinyl edition, and it's a really really good one. Really like this is probably the peak of that psychedelic vibe. It's got a great menace to it, but it's also very mellow and chill. Really love that bass line. It's kind of the antithesis of kind of the heavy, like the metal kind of stuff that was on Antipop, or even the straight ahead funky stuff that was on Brown Album. It's very very atmospheric. It's got that Floydy vibe to it. I think it's a meditation on loneliness. You know, one's love affair with an ice cube named Mary. Typical Primus, typical weird and eccentric and idiosyncratic, and all those other good words that can be used to describe bands like Primus. So yeah, Marry the Ice Cube wraps up. It reaches its climax and finishes, and that takes us to side two. So we flip the album over, get a quick glimpse of the creepy household there in the track list, and that very nice. And side two opens with The Last Superpower, aka a Rapscallion. This is funny. I've had this album for a lot of years, and it's one that I've come to appreciate more over time. I never really liked it when I was younger for whatever reason, but it's really really good. This is more in that funk kind of a vibe, but it's more arranged too. I mean, it's of all the songs on the album, I think this one probably has the most tricky arrangements going in there. It's got a very distinctive bridge section in the middle, which is quite cool. But yeah, great track. So probably more complex and more arranged, but quite good. I'm a Rapscallion. But then it wraps up into the final track of the album, which is My Friend Fats, and I'll say it right now, this is probably my favorite Primus song, actually. I really, really like My Friend Fats. There's some really great live performances on it. I've got the Hallucinogenetics, I think it's called. It was a DVD that was taken from the Tour de Fromage, where they did two sets, one of which was the entirety of Sailing the Seas of Cheese. But they play My Friend Fats in that set, and it's just really, really good. Again, this could be the peak of that psychedelic thing that they were up to. Very, very atmospheric, and I love how it builds. It starts out just with the bass drum, dot 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 dot, dot 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 dot, and the band very slowly build into it, and it's that the anti-drug kind of a theme. My friend Fats, he's a heck of a Joe. Or what's the best line? My friend Fats has no concerns about the candle that burns, both ends simultaneous. Really like that line. But as the song builds up, we get that great bass line. Boom, doodle 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 doodle. I just love that. And again, the way that Alexander lends his that spacious polyrhythmic style, it gives the song such a great atmosphere. It's just really, really good. Claypool even lends, he's singing a lot more, doing that kind of high falsetto little vocal melody that pops in those atmospheric parts, which is really good. He doesn't have a bad singing voice. He's an eccentric singer, but maybe it's a thing is like once you get used to his voice, it just sounds right after a while, I guess. I mean, it always sounds right for Primus, but I mean when he actually tries to sing and he kind of does that. Like that little melody thing, that atmospheric melody in My Friend Fats. It's quite convincing. It sounds really good. But the big thing with My Friend Fats is towards the very end, and we get what I would say is probably my favorite moment of Larry Lalonde guitar playing on record. He delivers a tremendous solo towards the end of My Friend Fats. It's really, really, really cool. I mean, it starts out quite clean, and it's just kind of got these creepy arpeggiated notes that kind of sneak in, but it gradually builds into the wonderful atmospheric dissonant frenzy that only Lalonde is capable of. And it's, like I said, if you want to hear Larry Lalonde playing at his very best, you got to check out My Friend Fats. Not only is that song my favorite on the album, it's one of my favorite Primus songs just in general. So whenever I see Primus, I do hope they play it because it's fantastic. And yeah, after the big guitar solo, it kind of winds its way down just the way it winds its way up, and finishes off on those bass notes once again, dot, 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 which is great. So there it is. That's the EP, the extended play that is Animals Should Not Try to Act Like People by Primus. It is the reunion album, really. And it was released in 2003, and it was the last thing that the band would do after their big reunion. They kind of did some sporadic touring here and there, but Claypool was more focused on his solo projects, I think. And like I said, they toured a bit, but there was no new songs released by this lineup for... Oh, it wasn't until The Chocolate Factory, which is, what was that, 2013? I think it was 2013. Maybe it was 14. I'm not sure. We'll talk about that later. That's with Tim Alexander, though, because the next actual release by Primus was a full-length album. It was released in 2011, and it was called Green Naugahyde. And that's the next one we're going to talk about. So stay tuned for that. Hit a like, hit me a subscribe, type in some comments if you like. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. So we will see you will see me in the future for more Primus chats. We'll see you then.